Devin Haney finally responds to criticism in his dominant victory over Jorge Linares. Some people were not impressed enough because there was a moment where he appeared hurt and stumbled back to the corner. So Devin Haney, he speaks. Devin the Dream Haney. We're going to talk about all that and more in this video. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, y'all know what to do. Listen, if you love what I'm doing, please smash the like button. Subscribe to the movement. I cover the beautiful sport, the sweet science, the sport of boxing. Talk about all things boxing, some UFC, the latest and greatest. This is your one-stop shop. If you need boxing news, what's going on with the latest fighters, the Wilders, the Deontay Wilders, Pacquiao, Spence, all that, I got you covered. Consider subscribing. Hit the bell notification for post notifications. Now, Devin Haney, he recently had to, I guess, respond or felt the need to respond to his performance against Jorge Linares after receiving some criticism from old media and the usual suspects. Certain people in boxing media, writers, certain fans, the racists, the detractors, the naysayers, etc. So let me get to Devin Haney's quote. This is verified page, and this is what he had to say. I boxed for 12 rounds. They say I'm boring, and I take no chances. I get knockout of the year. They say it was against a nobody. I fight one of the hardest punchers in the lightweight division and win the first 9 rounds and decided I want to try and go for the stoppage, and still it's something. So he's basically saying he can't get a fair shake. And this is absolutely true. The Bay Area versus everybody. Shout out to Devin Haney. There's also an inconsistency that was pointed out by Dame Lillard. Shout out to Dame. He said Jorge Linares told Devin Haney in the locker room face to face, quote, "You have power." Then in the post-fight interview, he said he has no power. LOL. Come on, man. You know, and to me, that's just a bad look. You know, you got to judge a man by his words, you know, and you got to be congruent with what you're saying. Devin Haney looked at you. There's videos of it. It's on the internet. And he says, oh, you know, how was I, you know, compare me, or how is my power compared to Lomachenko? And he says, oh, you have power. You have power. And then post-fight, he says, Devin don't have no pop. So Devin is absolutely right. Dame is absolutely right. This is a game that old media likes to play. First of all, let's talk about it. For me to go in detail about these things, you have to know the history. I think it's important, if you're a rapper, to know the history of hip hop. If you're a boxer, know the history of boxing. So this is nothing new to me. I've been covering this beautiful sport for many, many years on my own, self-made, well paid. And first of all, people told Devin Haney, you are an email champion. This is not my opinion. This is what the detractors said. They said you are an email champion, despite knowledge that Top Rank and Vasyl Lomachenko chose not to fight Devin Haney when he was calling him out. Whether you think he could beat Lomachenko or not, they didn't push the issue. And Devin Haney, as a result, became the WBC champion. The WBC, Top Rank, they all were in cahoots. They worked together to keep Lomachenko from fighting this kid. So if you don't think he's nice or whatever, then Lomachenko should have fought him, beat him, make an example of him, and that would have been that. So now you have this mess with Undisputed. Teofimo beat Lomachenko. I thought he did beat him. And now Devin has a belt, and they're still calling him an email champ. People like Teofimo, Ryan Garcia, the haters, the racists, you know, the racists in boxing media, etc., told Devin, fight someone top 10 so we could really respect you because you're an email champ. You didn't really earn your belt, right? This is what they told him. Jorge Linares is a former 3-time champion. Devin Haney fights him, obviously, as you see for media day, it says Haney Linares, beats him handedly, beats him without getting knocked down, and then they still complain on Devin Haney's performance because there was a moment where I personally think he did get rocked. He says he wasn't really hurt like that. But, you know, it's nonetheless, he doesn't really have to explain. I could do the explaining, you know what I mean? What I watched was Devin Haney, he boxed well. Very authoritative, right? With his jab, mixed in a good selection of punches. Body work was there. And yet and still the racists and old media, they're angry. They're saying Devin ain't got no chin, he ain't got no skill, he was overhyped. But Lomachenko was God tier to them, and this is Lomachenko versus the same man. So even if Devin got hurt and wobbled, he stayed upright. Whereas Lomachenko, who is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, he fought Jorge Linares, and although he did end up stopping him, in the end, he himself was dropped. He himself was dropped by Linares, as you see in this picture. So it's just mighty confusing. I think we know what time it is. When Linares fights Lomachenko a few years ago, and he puts him on his butt, you see both his gloves touching, butt on canvas. You know, Linares was a great fighter, and then now people are trying to make it sound like Linares is horrible. Listen, if you look at Jorge Linares, he also dropped a guy that people gave a lot of credit to when Ryan Garcia beat, which is Luke Campbell. And I've talked about many of these things. So for the people who are new to the channel, this may be a rehashing of things you've already heard me say, but this is Jorge Linares versus Luke Campbell. So you have two Caucasian fighters, Luke Campbell and Vasyl Lomachenko from the Ukraine, that both got dropped. And Luke Campbell actually lost to Jorge Linares, whereas Devin won. Lomachenko did come back, got his stuff together, and beat beat Linares, as I mentioned. But these guys got dropped, and nobody questioned their chin, nobody questioned their championship grit or medal. And they actually gave props to Luke Campbell. He's an Olympic gold medalist in the UK, British fighter. And they said, man, you lost to Linares, but man, I'm impressed. I want to see this guy again. But fast forward to the future, Devin Haney dominates Linares outside of probably a round and a half, you know, where he was recovering from a late 10-second shot. You can't really give Linares many rounds at all, and they're questioning Devin's performance or saying this guy and this guy beats him. Boxing doesn't work like that. You know, you have Tim Bradley. I thought he lost all 3 fights to Pacquiao, yet the first time he fought Juan Manuel Marquez, he defeated him, and I thought he convincingly beat Marquez. Yet Marquez knocked Pacquiao out and gave Pacquiao hell the 3 times before the knockout fight. So you see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, triangle theories don't work. Because Linares was able to thread in a nice combination and catch Devin Haney, you know, that doesn't mean Teofimo or Ryan Garcia or whoever you want to put into the mix. That doesn't mean that they do it, because Linares, again, he's a crafty, wildly veteran. He's been in there with the best, and he has experience. Do you also notice Devin Haney took Linares' shots earlier in the fight when Linares couldn't find him and is throwing mostly singles. Now, here's another big problem that boxing fans failed to recognize. When Devin Haney got clipped in the last 10 seconds, the last 10-second stands of round 10, he got clipped, he got rocked. You by saying all these other guys whoop him, you also negate the fact that Devin Haney, as a professional boxer who is always in shape and takes his career seriously, you're negating the fact that he can learn from that moment. You know what I mean? We've seen Floyd Mayweather hurt by DeMarcus Corley, but then he beat guys later in his career, and even before in his career, that people would rank higher than DeMarcus Corley. So that's one thing when people give a lot of dialogue and commentary to boxing that they never put into perspective, that if you have a tough fight and then you come out almost a better man or woman in that ring because you have the ability to now learn. We seen Andre Durrell have a close fight with Carl Froch, right? Arguably beat him. We seen Andre Ward, who got dropped by Darnell Boone. You know, these moments where you have a close fight and people arguably believe you won, or when Andre Ward's getting dropped by Darnell Boone, those can help define you, because whatever punch or whatever you did, whether it was a lack of cardio and you made a mistake because you were tired or whatever, you also have the ability to learn from that. And that's the point I'm making. As you guys can see, Linares has 53 bouts. That was his 53rd bout. He's been a professional, longtime professional since 2002. So I don't even know what year Devin Haney was born, but he's only 22. And ironically enough, the racists in old media, they won't tell you these things. That, oh, hey, Devin wins his fight against a guy with 50 That's his 53rd fight. So 52 previous fights, right? And Devin's only 22. And this is what they said they wanted from him. But then when Floyd Mayweather demolishes Canelo Alvarez, and I'm not saying that Linares is Floyd Mayweather. However, when Floyd beat Canelo, guess what? See, he was born in 1998. So Linares was a pro in 2002. That's when he turned pro. Devin Haney was born in 98. So Devin was like 4 years old when Linares was turning pro. But the point I'm making with Canelo, let's talk about it. Canelo was 23 when he failed and lost big to Mayweather. And look at Canelo, you know, he's back. He's the top of the sport. He learned from the loss and whatever. But when Devin Haney wins and has the little oh shit moment, a little scare, then people jump off the deep end and say, oh, his career's over, he was exposed and stuff like that. But some of the same people aren't saying that about Canelo Alvarez. So how is it that Canelo Alvarez can lose a fight in horrible fashion, lose virtually every round to a Floyd Mayweather, and dedicate himself to the sport, and then come back and do impressive things and beat impressive people and have big fights and make money in the sport? But Devin Haney is automatically written off because he got wobbled, even though the same man dropped two Caucasian fighters, Lomachenko and Luke Campbell. But for Devin, you see where the hate is coming from. You know, people are saying it's over for him and everybody beats him and he was exposed. So it is what it is. Devin, he don't even really need to explain. He's starting to get that, a little bit of that Mayweather hate. And, you know, he might as well just buckle up and embrace for it. Because like he said, if he boxes a guy, they say it's boring. If he takes chances and then gets clipped and then stays on his feet, then they're going to say, oh, you got rocked, it's over. So I advise Devin Haney, if he ever gets this video or this message, just fight for you. Do whatever you want to do. And, you know, don't try to impress the fans, because a lot of these fans are ungrateful and people want to see you lose. That's why they mad at the Linares situation, because Devin Haney, he's new money. You know, he kind of has that style that's hard to beat. And you just see a lot of the racists and naysayers and detractors, they wanted him to fight a stupid fight with Linares and get hurt more or get knocked out and or lose. And then they really would have been clowning him. So that's why in boxing and sports in general, don't fight or play for the crowd. Play for you, play for your integrity, play for your family, and that kind of thing. Let me know how I did. Use my link to get